It was the spring of 1993, and after attending a high school football game, two of my closest friends and I met up with some girls and decided, for lack of a better idea, we would go down to the graveyard, which was rumored to have glowing tombstones. My friends and I had already seen the glowing tombstones, which were caused by a red neon light that reflected off the finish of the headstones. Truly, it was an eerie sight, to say the least. Stories spread about the graveyard, with various versions as to why the headstones shone with such a color. Variations included a young man killed by a gang, buried under the suspected tombstones, and a young woman whose death was in question. The usual stories that accompany strange phenomena. Since I had already seen the tombstones at least a dozen times before, I thought it would be fun to take the girls there because they wouldn't know what we knew exactly. We pulled up to the fence on the south side of the graveyard, the usual spot, because it was the only angle from which the stones glowed. After we parked and got out, we stood for a few seconds outside the fence, daring each other to go in. Of course, no one dared. I dared my friend Don to hop the fence, knowing he had never been frightened of anything in his life. Strangely, he didn't reply. I looked over at him to find him staring into the graveyard, as pale as the full moon above us. I turned again to see what was drawing his attention, and then I saw it. Around the tombstone that glowed red stood at least 4 or 5 figures in white. Each was so bright we could almost see features from at least 100 yards away. The figures stood motionless, showing no movement or even reflecting the red light of the tombstone. Don and I exchanged wide-eyed glances while sprinting for the truck. The others followed shortly afterwards, although they hadn't seen what we had. I went back recently to the old haunting grounds with my girlfriend, just to see if the tombstones would still glow. The neon light has been removed, and there was no trace of the glowing tombstones, but I still got nervous driving by. I still try to convince myself that it never really happened, but I know it did.